Truth about rumination. Ruminating is much more destructive to your mental health than you have been told. Why you still ruminate about your narcissistic ex even years after the discard. Why therapy cannot stop your rumination, and how to completely heal and be happy again. This is the Reverse Narcissistic Abuse channel on YouTube. Don't just heal the narcissistic abuse trauma. Reverse the narcissistic devaluation programming, because you have value simply because you exist. Yes, we are going to be talking about rumination. So, this is the main issue when it comes to your healing. I know that you enjoy watching videos where I or somebody else, whether they be a coach or whether they be a psychologist or whomever, you love hearing us talk about the innards of the narcissist, why they do what they do. Maybe you even love videos like how to beat the narcissist at their own game, how to mortify the narcissist, why the narcissist still loves you and will take you back, and why the narcissist is afraid of you. I know you love watching all of these videos. And I know that if you are, you've been severely abused and you're in pain. And I'm here to tell you that the biggest issue is rumination. And rumination, if you are able to heal, the rumination will stop completely. You'll not only not ruminate about your narcissistic ex, you won't even need to think about them ever again. You won't be angry. You won't look back on it with pain. You won't look back on the relationship with regret or remorse or resentment. Once you heal the cause of the rumination, it is just like, remember that year when you had that bad flu? Oh yeah, I think I was pretty sick. What year was that? Anyway, what were we talking about? You're not going to care. That's what this will be like. But right now, it is destroying you. But it is far worse than you have been led to believe. And in fact, I'm here to tell you that even psychologists, psychiatrists, and the coaches out there do not know what rumination really is and what causes it. I do. I've completely healed myself of the pain of narcissistic abuse, PTSD. Is it PTSD? PTSD. Because that's what it is. Anyway, we'll get into that. But again, ruminating is much more destructive to your mental health than you've been told. Why you still ruminate about your narcissistic ex even years after the discard. And let's go ahead and get into it. So, the truth about rumination. Rumination is a symptom of serious mental and neurological trauma. It is severe PTSD. I know you think you just can't stop thinking about them. You just need to figure out how to stop your thinking. How to think differently. So, I before I did this video, I just did some searching around on the internet, just to prove to myself, just in case somebody actually knew what was going on, I would have been happy to see that. But I was pretty sure I was going to find that nobody knew what the hell they were talking about. And it's true. And so how little people in the psychological industry understand about narcissistic abuse trauma and specifically rumination, because the things that they tell you, they'll say, how to stop ruminating. First off, they don't even address what causes rumination. We all know what it is. It's you can't stop thinking intrusive thoughts about your narcissistic ex. Where are they now? What are they doing? Are they with somebody else? Do they still love me? What did I do wrong? What if I did this? We all know what it is, but the things that they say are things like, try meditating, distract yourself, work on your self-esteem. None of those things are going to stop the rumination. None of them. Is it true that rumination comes from things like low self-esteem and trauma? Yeah, but that knowledge means nothing. So we're going to get into what this really is, because, as I said, coaches, psychologists, psychiatrists, they don't know. I do. So rumination is caused by an unexpected interruption in the intermittent reinforcement abuse cycle. So narcissistic abuse, as you know, what keeps it going is the intermittent reinforcement cycle of the trauma bond. Trauma bond is an excellent word, excellent phrase for that. It absolutely describes it. Intermittent reinforcement is pretty good. It sounds kind of clinical. It doesn't really give the intensity of the emotional experience, but it's fairly accurate. So first we have to do some, forgive me for doing this, but you have to know what is underneath all of this. So we have to talk a little bit about what causes somebody to become a narcissist. So a narcissist is in a continuous state of feeling they are about to die at any moment. The narcissist does the extreme things that they do because they honestly feel, in the depths of their nervous system, they feel they are going to die at any moment. And this comes because as an infant, they were not given anywhere near enough interaction. So as I've said in previous videos, what the fastest way to kill an infant is not by starving them to death or by putting them out in the freezing cold. The fastest way to kill an infant is to neglect them. The more that you neglect them, the faster they will die. This has been proven. I've talked about it in other videos about the king in the Middle Ages who did the whole experiment because he wanted to find out what the original language was. You can watch that on previous videos, but it's been proven that if you do not pick up an infant, communicate to an infant, make noises, sounds, talk to them, hold them, touch them, look in their eyes. If you don't do that, they will die. It will kill them. So narcissists, as we know, narcissists and borderlines, cluster B personality disorders, what happened is that as infants, they at the very least had the perception that they were going to die from lack of interaction. In fact, it was so intense that they were on the verge of death, and they got just enough interaction that it gave them something to grab onto, but it was, it was not nearly enough. And so what ended up happening is they became emaciated psychologically, and then that's how they grew up. So they are emaciated infants. Vampires are the perfect symbol of the narcissist. They're emaciated, they're on the verge of death. In fact, they are the walking dead. They feed off of other human beings' blood, but no amount of blood is enough. It doesn't give them what they need, and they're constantly in pain, they're miserable, they're in turmoil, and so that's, of course, why they're so sadistic and evil. That is exactly what it's like for the narcissist. They are emaciated infants who believe they're going to die at any moment. And so because of that distortion and what creates in them, they can't stop feeding off of you. You are their supply. All right, so you get that, you understand that. So it's a survival mechanism thing. All of the crazy stuff they do is because they believe they're going to die. I know you want to make them out to be evil, that they're choosing to do it, that they are evil geniuses and they can do whatever they want and nothing affects them and nothing bothers them, but that's the furthest thing from the truth. Even if they present themselves as a dead-eyed psychopath, underneath that is an emaciated, crying, scream-crying little infant. So in order for them to bond with you, they need to find prey who has a similar wound. Ideally, they want somebody that doesn't have the wound as deeply as they do. So they look, just like wolves do, they look for the sick and the weak and the elderly to feed off of. They don't want to take on a strong buck in the herd. They want to take on the babies, the dying, the old, the sick. So the narcissists are the same. They're looking for people who have a wound in them. A wound that is similar to theirs, but yours isn't nearly as bad. Your parents didn't neglect you or abuse you or abandon or confuse you to the same degree. They did. They didn't do their job completely. And you go through life, you know, many people will say, I don't know why you keep saying I was codependent beforehand, or I was primed beforehand, because that's not true. My life was great. I was awesome until I met the narcissist. So I understand that that's your experience, but the truth is that that wound was there, it just hadn't been activated. And once that wound is activated within you, it magnifies, and they magnify that wound. But they don't start off abusing you, right? No, they don't. The beginning is absolutely, utterly amazing. Why? Because they know the pain of not being seen, not being loved. So what they do in order to groom you for this trauma bond intermittent reinforcement that is going to happen, to groom you for that, they have to bond to you. So the way that they do that is they figure out what your wound is, and then they meet that. They meet that wound perfectly. That's at least their experience. It's obviously your experience, or you wouldn't have bonded with them. And of course, it's your projection, and it's your transference, and it's your idealization as well, because both the narcissist and the victim do the same thing. When you are love bombed, you respond out of infantile idealization. And the idealization is, I'm going to survive. If you're walking around with, I really wish I could find love, I really wish somebody would see me, would love me, it's nothing wrong with it, and you may find all of that. So I encourage you to have all those feelings. But bear in mind, if that's a wound, then your first response is going to be to idealize the person, the same way the infant deifies and idealizes the mother, which is, compared to an infant, the mother is the goddess. She is the creatrix of the universe. So your feeling of, oh my God, I'm finally being seen, I've found the love of my life, I'm bonded to them, I've known them forever, that's infantile idealization. And there's nothing more powerful. You may think I just diminished the feelings. No, it's more intense. Infantile idealization is more intense than just normal adult falling in love, which is very intense. Healthy people falling in love is not nearly as intense. That's why we have this whole thing about twin flames. Healthy people don't talk about twin flames. They don't even know what the heck you're talking about. They talk about soulmate, they talk about the love of my life, I couldn't live without them, I've known them forever, my best friend, we think is one, but they don't talk about twin flames. The people who talk about twin flames always, without fail, are people who have this wound, people who have not been given enough love as kids, and so the bonding is traumatic and toxic and intense. Right? So you understand. Now you know how the narcissist is created. They look for the same wound within you that they have within themselves. They meet that infantile, unmet need of being loved and seen that bonds you to them. You idealize them, you fall madly in love, they become your soulmate, your twin flame, whatever the hell it is. Now, once they have that, they got you. Now comes the abuse. Once they've bonded with you, or you've bonded with them, super glue, because there's nothing stronger than the infant bonding with the mother. Nothing in the universe. The hormones that are released in the brain are identical to opiates. That's why people who are damaged and wounded, they become opiate addicts, because they never got that. But it's that addicting. I mean, it's that addicting. That's why you can't leave. So that bond is created. You're flooded with all those neurochemicals which remind you of the infant bonding with the mother, and you conflate that with love, and of course you're wrong. Then once they've accomplished that, now they know you're not going to leave them. They may have lied to you in the love bombing phase. They may not care. All they care is creating that bond. Once that bond is created, they don't have to worry about it. You're not going anywhere. I'm thinking back, to my narcissistic relationship, and I remember after I learned the truth, it was already too late. I was already bonded, and if I had known that, if the person had shown up and told me, oh, by the way, I'm a heroin addict, oh, by the way, this, oh, by the way, that. If I had known that within the first, day or two, I would have said, listen, I'm not going to do this. But I was already bonded. It was too late. I couldn't leave. So then comes the intermittent reinforcement. So remember what I'm saying, I'm giving you a bunch of information, but what I'm saying is rumination is caused by an unexpected interruption in the intermittent reinforcement abuse cycle. So you get bonded, then comes the abuse. Now, the abuse isn't just because they're incapable of intimacy, which is true. The abuse is actually designed to strengthen and reinforce your trauma bond, your chemical bond to them. How does this happen? You feel safe, you feel loved, you're connected, they go, good, I got him. Now comes the abuse, which is we're turning up your need for them. Why? What happens to an infant? If an infant is separated from the mother, they lose it. One of my first memories, I can remember being in the grocery store and my mom went around, the corner, which was only a few feet, but I was, 3 or 4 years old. So, I couldn't see her and I started crying. I was going to die. I didn't know where my mommy was. She was just right around the corner. So that's what they're doing. They are stimulating that infantile fear of abandonment, which is what? I'm going to die. So that you don't leave them, you don't have the awareness to go, wow, this person's really abusive. I don't need this. You can't think that because you are in your neurological state. Your nervous system is in a state of survival, panic, when they are abusing you. The threat of them discarding you, abandoning you, ignoring you, not approving of you, whatever it is, that triggers in you an even more intense survival response, and you chase after them, it bonds you to them even stronger. Now, when the abuse gets to the point, and they will push this, they will test to see how far they can push the abuse. When the abuse gets to the point when you are about to wake up and leave, they then magically out of nowhere give you the love, the reinforcement, which is love, which is survival. What happens? The flood of neurochemicals, the same neurochemicals that are in opiates, the same neurochemicals that are in the mother and the infant during the bonding. It's the most intense, most addicting chemical. You conflate it with love. Now all of a sudden it's okay. I fixed it. I'm going to be okay now. I'm not going to die. They love me. We're going to be in love forever. It's all going to be okay. You forget what you just went through. You forget the horrific abuse you just survived. Because now your nervous system, the basic animal nervous system in you saying, we're going to be okay. It's all right. We can relax. Whew. You relax. Now you bond again because of the release of the chemicals. Now you're back bonded. Then comes the abuse. So this is intermittent reinforcement. Intermittent reinforcement isn't just a crazy thing that happens in narcissistic relationships. It is the strategy of a narcissist trapping you to be incapable of leaving them. Is trapping you so that you will be a source of nourishment to them. Because remember, they're emaciated infants that are on the verge of death. They're constantly starving. They feed off of your emotions. They feed off of, whatever the supply is. And of course, it's a different flavor for everybody. But whatever it is, you volunteer. You keep showing up. I've shared a story numerous times when I was 15 years old, long time ago, before cell phones, back in the 1970s. And I remember me and my friends, we were walking along the road, and this car comes barreling past us, pulls over to the side. The passenger door gets pushed open, and this woman gets pushed out of the car. And then the car takes off, and she stands up, and she's traumatized. We rush to her. Are you okay? We're 15, 16 years old. Are you okay? Can we help you? She's totally traumatized. She can't even speak. Right? So the guy then pulls over, 100 yards or something, and I'm looking at him and I'm breathing like, how could you do this to another person? Of course, being the narcissist that he was, he backs up, he gets out, he gets in my face, towers over me, and of course other people start pulling over, and to my thankfully, a bunch of adults and adult males get out and start talking to the guy, pick on somebody your own size, and people start to figure out what's going on. People take the woman aside. She's pulled aside by women and men. She is completely sheltered from this guy. There's 2 or 3 guys that got him there. They're ready to take him out. He's like, you don't understand. And so this woman now has an opportunity. We say it. 5 or 6 different women say it. There's a bunch of cars pulled over to the side of the road, and they say, we will help you. Do you want to go to the police? Do you need to go to the hospital? You don't have to get back in the car with that guy. He is dangerous. He is bad. We will help you. What did she do? Half hour later, without speaking a word to anybody, she gets back in the car with him. Intermittent reinforcement. This is where you're at. She knew that she was physically in danger with this guy. But the fear of dying from lack of attention was far worse. She had already been pulled into the intermittent reinforcement cycle. This is what causes rumination. Because rumination is when you've been in this cycle, and now you're in this continuous need for survival. It is a survival mechanism. I'm going to die if this person doesn't love me. I'm going to die if this person doesn't give me attention. I'm going to die if this person doesn't abuse me. I'm going to die. That's what's happening inside of you. Then what ends up happening? They discard you. Now you're stuck. Because what is the intermittent reinforcement stage? It's love bombing, bonding, neurochemicals, I'm going to be okay, I'm going to survive. Abuse intensifies the need. Please don't leave me. I need you. I love you. You're now heightened in a state of needing to survive, needing that love. They reinforce you, flood of chemicals. You come back to normal. Everything is okay. The abuse, the love, the abuse, the love, the abuse, the love, the abuse, discard. Now you're stuck. And now you can't stop. So rumination is your nervous system telling you you're going to die any second. Any second. Now, you've been told by however many coaches and psychologists, time heals all. That's not true in the case of rumination. In the case of rumination, your nervous system and your unconscious mind doesn't know from time. It doesn't know from 5 minutes or 20 years. It's the same. I know because I've talked to you. You guys all say the same thing if you haven't done what's necessary to heal, which I have done. You say the same thing. I'm mostly healed, but I still think about them. I'm mostly healed, but I'm sad it didn't work out. I'm mostly healed, but sometimes I still ruminate. You're not mostly healed. You're not healed at all. Rumination means that you're still in that interrupted what was it called? Intermittent reinforcement cycle. It's interrupted, which means you're now on a hamster wheel of I need to survive or I'm going to die. Do you understand? This is rumination. Rumination isn't just, it was an intense thing, I can't stop thinking about them. Well, I wonder why, they reminded me of my mother. This has nothing to do with that. There's no conscious thought process involved here. It is purely a survival mechanism of the nervous system and the deep unconscious. It's got nothing to do with what you think you know. All of the awareness that happens, the trying to figure it out, none of that is going to stop it. I know, I've talked to enough people, I experienced it, and it didn't stop until I did the work. It'll go on for the rest of your life if you don't fix it. So ruminates, number 3, or the third one down, rumination indicates that the abuse victim is experiencing an unconscious life-threatening event. The fourth one down, in the face of perception of certain death, the victim denies the severity of the trauma. So this is also addiction. If you went to a doctor and you had this boil and it was just like festering and infected and you knew that your health was at risk, you went to the doctor and the doctor says, "Oh, that's not a problem. That's just it's a very nasty bacteria. Don't worry about it. Take this. Follow directions. You're going to be fine." You take the pills. Great, right? You would take them. You would immediately take one, swallow the water. Another 4 hours? You would do it. But what happens with people who've been wrapped up in intermittent reinforcement, interrupted intermittent reinforcement? They're in an addiction state. They're still waiting for their fix. Because if you accept the truth, which is what I try and teach on this channel, is that it's never going to work. You'll never get it. You'll never get them to love you. Your survival instinct is going to rebel against that idea. Those of you who say, "No, I don't want them anymore, I don't love them, I know it's never going to work, I hate them though, and I will never forgive them," you are just in denial. Because that level of denial, which says, "I'm never going to forgive them for what they did to me, they need to pay, but I never want to see them again," what it means is that you're in denial and you're angry about it. The anger is being denied your survival. You tell yourself, "I'm done with them, I never want to see them again," but the truth is, if they walked in and said, "I'm sorry, you're right, I was horrible to you, you are the best person that I've ever been with, and I should be with you, and I'm going to commit myself, and I'm going to make it up to you," you would take them in a second. You might complain about it, you might want to sit there, "You should know better, and let me tell you what you did wrong," but you take them back in a heartbeat. I know, because I was there. I know exactly what that is. You can tell you blue in the face, tell me that I'll never take them again, I hate them, I could never love them, I know exactly what they're all about, they're evil. If you don't understand that you're still trapped in this thing, then you will feed off of that resentment. But that resentment is about, "I wish I could have what I wanted." You still have hope. And the denial, the more that you deny that, the more I know that you are still addicted. And it's an addiction because you're afraid if you don't get your fix, you're going to die. And you can live with that for decades. I've seen it over and over again. So in the face of perception of certain death, the victim denies the severity of the trauma. Rumination does not stop even after years or decades past the discard event. Why? Again, the nonsense you've been told that time heals all. Just try meditation. Get better self-esteem. Go to therapy. Go to the gym. Start doing a basket weaving class. All those things are great, but they're not going to get rid of the rumination. They won't stop it. They might, if you're lucky, distract you for a little bit, but they won't. Here's another thing people say to me. The only way out is to find a good person to love. All you're doing is you're looking for somebody else to take their place who will love you and give you attention so that you can get the feel-good chemicals. You're still trapped in it, and you still are looking for the fix. By the way, same thing, the narcissist is doing the same thing in their own way. They discard you for the same reason. It's different mechanics, but it's the same basic reason. They're trapped in their interrupted intermittent reinforcement. Same thing. And there's a guy I'll never forget. I'll always bring him up because he typifies this. There was a guy who was coming onto this channel, and maybe he's still watching. If you're watching, I hope you finally, at some point, take my advice and heal. But there was a guy who was coming on the channel, and he kept on asking the same questions, and it was about rumination. How can I stop the rumination? I'm fine, I'm okay, I've worked through it, I've healed, but I still ruminate. And I go, if you're still ruminating, you're not healed, there's nothing, you're not okay. And they say, no, you don't understand. I married somebody else, I have kids now, I've been with them for years, but I still think about my ex. Why? How can I stop it? All he did was he just looked for somebody to take the place, and then he got married, and guess what? It didn't work. That person probably who does love them, does take care of them, gave them kids, married them, it still doesn't get them out of the rumination of the destructive, abusive relationship, which means they're still at a level of they're afraid they're going to die. They've suppressed it. It's at the deepest level of their unconscious. I'm mostly healed, except I still ruminate about it. It means that you still think you're going to die any second, but you're in denial. It's understandable. We all do that. In the face of we're about to die and there's nothing you can do, we hum in the wind. We pretend it's going to be okay. We hope it's going to be okay. But the truth is you think you're still about to die. It's that level of intense pain. Rumination will not go away on its own. It never has, it never will, unless you reverse the narcissistic devaluation programming, which is what I'm going to be teaching you on this channel. So, rumination does not stop even after years or decades past the discard event. Therapy cannot, does not, and will not ever cure the underlying causes of rumination PTSD. Don't believe me? How many of you have been watching all of I'm not going to say the names of the YouTube psychologists, the YouTube, there's a few well-known YouTube coaches, narcissist recovery coaches. I've followed these people for years. And I've watched them get involved with narcissists. And every couple of years they come out and they say, I got into another relationship with a narcissist. Or in some of the famous cases, there's, narcissist psychologists and coaches and getting together and they team up to go save the world. And then what happens? He discards and publicly destroys the other person's character and reputation. And I saw it coming. It's, these people, they talk about healing. It doesn't mean they've accomplished it. I've accomplished it. You want to do it? I can teach you how to do it. If you want to heal. Therapy cannot, does not, and will not ever cure the underlying causes of rumination PTSD. No amount of self-knowledge or awareness of causes of rumination will ever stop the pain. This is the people who say, I've done a lot of work on myself. I'm almost healed. I've healed a lot of it, but I'm still in pain. And people say, but now at least I know. I've been educated. In fact, I just read a few comments on this channel, people saying, but I educated myself on why. None of that means anything. Even what I'm telling you right now is not designed to heal you. If you think that listening to this video is going to heal your rumination pain, you're wrong. All I'm going to do is help you understand that you don't have the ability to stop this. Once this thing gets started, it will not stop on its own. No amount of awareness of your childhood issues, no amount of awareness of what the narcissist or the borderline represents to your unconscious, your mother this, your parents that, family of origin, the knowledge of that, no matter how deep you go, will not get rid of the pain. It will not stop the interrupted, what is it called again? The interrupted intermittent reinforcement abuse cycle. Once that's been interrupted, you are stuck on a record. And there is no therapist that has the ability to pick the needle up off the record for you. There's no coach that has the ability to tell you something that will pick it up. You might have an epiphany, an awakening. A lot of people, want to talk about their feelings, and they think the more they talk about the intensity of the feelings, that it'll fix it. And all you're doing is it's emotional and intellectual masturbation. It doesn't accomplish anything. You think you have some feelings about it, but it never gets rid of the need. Just like the vampire thinks, this next victim whose blood I suck, that'll fix it. I'll be satiated and I can stop. Never does. Never stops it. So no amount of self-knowledge or awareness of causes of rumination will ever stop the pain. Therapists, coaches, psychologists, and psychiatrists do not truly know what rumination is. Have you ever heard? Maybe they're out there. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a self-styled expert, as Sam Vaknin would call it, and it's absolutely true. I'm a self-styled expert. The truth is, I have the experience to back it up. If you accept me as telling you the truth, unless I'm lying to you, I have healed myself of this, and I know what causes it. I've explained to you the mechanism of what causes rumination, but I haven't yet told you how to heal it. And there is a way to completely heal. There is no such thing as partial healing from rumination, PTSD trauma. I've already talked about that. This is just one of the biggest, and people, here's the thing about victims of abuse. Part of the abuse cycle is that you're told you're not good enough. So what ends up happening is that the abuse victim needs to prove to the abuser that they are good enough, that they are smart enough, that they're doing a good enough job. Because part of it is you're not doing it right. You're not doing it perfectly. You're not doing a good enough job. I hate you because you're not meeting my needs correctly. That's just typical narcissistic devaluation programming. So when I tell you, when I read your comment that says I'm mostly healed, and I say, no, you're not, you want to defend yourself. You say, you can't say that. I've done a lot of work on myself. You can't badmouth me that way. You can't abuse me that way. You can't victim blame me that way. You take it as a personal attack because your reputation has been tarnished. You are conflating your reputation with your healing. And so what you say in order to save your own internal, self-esteem, your reputation, you say, I'm mostly healed. I've done a lot of work on myself. I've learned a lot. That really educated me. That doesn't mean anything. Again, we go back to the person who's got a horrible infection, pustule, a horrible thing, and goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, here's the cure, and the guy says, great, thank you. And then he goes back and he doesn't take the medication, but he goes online and he studies everything he can about that particular bacterium. And he learns all of where it came from and blah, blah, blah. And he goes back to the doctor a week later, and the doctor says, you still have the infection. Did you take the medication? No, but I educated myself on this bacterium, and I know, what's amazing is that this bacterium started and, was released into the public in 1873, and there was a moth that farted on a pangolin in China, and it created and you'll have all of this, and the doctor said that, but you have to take the medication. Yeah, but doctor, I have done a lot of self-examination. I've really worked on myself. I've done a lot of shadow work on this. And I know what this is, and the doctor's going to say, if you don't take the medication, you're going to die. Now you're just attacking my character, and I came here for help, and now you're just attacking me, and you're not giving me any credit for This is all that's happening when people say this to me. I've done a lot of work on myself. I've done a lot of shadow work on myself. I'm now more self-aware. I'm really educated on what this is. I've been to a lot of therapy, and my therapist says it's meaningless. Unless you can honestly look me in the eyes without any, lying to yourself or any, changing of the truth in any way. If you can look me in the eyes and say, I'm completely healed. I have no pain. I can look you in the eyes and tell you, I have completely, 100% healed from the narcissistic abuse, trauma, pain of that relationship. And I can tell you exactly what I did to heal myself. If you can't say that, it's okay, just be honest. Just be honest. Everything you've tried hasn't worked. That's okay. You're not a bad person. Nobody knows this. Human beings are not trained to know this. Our body is in a state of survival trauma. And it is okay that we don't know what the hell's going on, and it's okay. We're not a bad person because we haven't been able to stop the pain. It's easy to stop. It's very simple. You can stop it almost instantaneously. Everybody's a little different. It might take a little more time for some people, but for me, within a couple of months, I was completely free of the pain. Other people who do the work, completely free of the rumination. You might have other human problems. You might have other unresolved childhood stuff. We all do. But in terms of stopping the rumination, you either have or you haven't. And if you have, without lying or pretending or trying to look good, you can say without blinking, I've completely healed myself of the rumination. I don't have any rumination pain whatsoever. I never even think about them. I have no anger towards them. I have no sadness. I'm completely healed of it. It doesn't affect me. You can have that, but you have to be honest with yourself. Are you still in pain? Are you still ruminating? If the answer is yes, own it. Because what's important is the healing, not the reputation, not looking good, not worrying about whether or not people are judging you. What's important is, are you healthy? Are you happy? That's the most important thing to me, and I can teach you how to do that. So there's no such thing as partial healing from rumination PTSD trauma. You're either still ruminating or you're free of it. The record is either skipping or it's not. There's no partial skipping. If skipping means it keeps going back, it's either skipping or it's going to go all the way to the end. You're either ruminating or you're not. You're not partially or mostly or a little bit. There's no such thing. You're either ruminating or you're not. The fact that you're ruminating 24/7, or you're ruminating every couple of weeks, or you're ruminating every other day, or you're waking up in the middle of the night only 3 times. I used to wake up in the middle of the night every night, and I'm only waking up 2 or 3 times a week. But it doesn't matter. You're still ruminating. Unless the root cause of rumination PTSD is reversed, it will never completely end. The only cure for rumination PTSD trauma is to reverse the narcissistic devaluation programming. And there's some specific ways to do that. There are ways that I have been teaching people on this channel for the past few years, and that will stop the rumination. The thing that I, euphemize as the one thing. If you don't know what the one thing is, it's real simple. You can find out. Don't put a comment on my channel saying, you didn't tell me what the one thing was. All you have to do is learn how to search within a YouTube channel, go to the search bar, and type in the one thing. You have to type into the search bar on my channel, not on YouTube. And when you do that, videos will come up, and one will come up that will say the one thing that cures whatever, narcissistic or borderline abuse trauma or whatever it is. If you do that one thing completely and you follow all of the directions, people keep telling me, oh yeah, I've done some of that, sort of my own version of it. Like, again, they want me to give them partial credit for that. You either do it right or you don't. You either take the pill or you don't. Reading the label, looking at the pill, researching the pill, trying to create your own version of the pill, the antibiotic, doesn't work. You have to follow the instructions. Why would you not do that? Because you're trapped in an addiction to the intermittent reinforcement. That's why people, do strange things and don't take, real simple instructions and just follow through. Because you're still addicted. And that addiction won't go away unless you stop it cold in its tracks. So you have to do the one thing, and then what we have to do is we have to reverse the narcissistic devaluation programming. if you reverse the narcissistic devaluation programming, nobody can ever abuse you ever again. In fact, when you reverse the narcissistic devaluation programming, you will then see how you have been, not only the intense devaluation abuse that happened in your romantic relationship, but you'll find out how just normal institutions, normal relationships, you'll find that this is everywhere. It's pervasive in the entire breadth of society. And you will learn how to disconnect from all of the super subtle ways that you've been devalued and narcissistically programmed since you were a kid. It's everywhere in our society. I teach you how to do that. So the places you can go is you can go here to reversenarcabuse.com. I've got introductory video course there which will explain to you what narcissistic devaluation programming really is. I've got quantum shifting. I've already made the first video, which is free, which you can find here at thunderwizard.com. You can find quantum shifting level 1, which is free. There's 7 videos total. I've made 3 of them so far. As soon as there's interest, I'll make the entire series. You can work with me personally if you want. I'll be happy to counsel you and tell you what to do. If you want to find out the quickest way to get out of pain, go on to my YouTube channel and search for The One Thing. Find the video that teaches you how to do that. And that's it, my friends. So again, rumination is not what you've been told, and there's nobody, I haven't seen anybody online who knows how to stop it. There are thousands, if not millions of people who have learned how to stop their rumination. And there's a specific thing that they've done, which I talk about. I talk about it in my book, How I Survived My Borderline Girlfriend, which you can get at michaelwilliamdenny.com. I talk about it on this channel. So put some effort into it and then take the actions. If you want to really master this so that nobody can ever do this to you again and society can never condition you to do this again, then I again refer you to reversenarcabuse.com and thunderwizard.com. Take the quantum shifting course. You can also go to my channel, Thunder Wizard. There's a lot of great things on there. We have live guided meditations every week, Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That it will be part of how to reverse the narcissistic programming. You're welcome to come to that. Again, it's on thunderwizard.com. Thunder Wizard YouTube channel every Wednesday and Saturday, 8:30 p.m. You can go. There's already videos that have been archived. Plenty of live ones. You can go and just watch one and follow those meditations. That's incredibly powerful. So that's it for now. I wish you all the best. Please remember that you have value simply because you exist. There is literally nothing that you can do that will make you more lovable than you already are. And there is nothing that you need to do. There's nothing you need to be. You just simply need to be and exist. And that is enough. When you can get to the place where you know that and you can live that, you will find joy and peace greater than anything you can find on planet Earth. Anyway, we're going to discuss this more and more on both of my channels. This channel that you're on and my other channel, Thunder Wizard, we talk about this stuff. That's it. Please take very good care of yourselves, and I will see you very soon.